Shields up, Ironbreakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Mortal Shell. This title was sent to me by Epic Games so that I could give it a look and tell you guys my opinions on it. Now, I'm a little bit late to this party when it comes to reviews and all that jazz. I did have enough time to actually play through the game and then do a proper review, but this weekend was also my daughter's birthday, so I've been pretty busy and it's been pretty chaotic around the house, so I didn't really have enough time to do a proper review as I tend to do, so instead I opted for playing it live for your enjoyment, and you guys seem to have enjoyed that, so you know, it was a win-win situation. And now that I finished the game, I figured I'd just give you guys my overall thoughts of Mortal Shell up until this point. Now, Mortal Shell, for those of you that are not aware, is a Souls-like. It is heavily inspired by Dark Souls, as the developers themselves have stated, and it is actually a pretty good effort for what is a smaller studio. This is very much a budget title. Do not think of this as like a AAA game or anything like that. I was hearing different things in terms of how long the game was. It took me around 10 hours to actually finish the game, and that was with the initial like 3 hours or so of gameplay, just me being completely lost in that hub area trying to find out where the different shells were and where the different weapons were, because I was very obsessed about getting a specific shell and a specific weapon, which, by the way, there's a total of 4 shells and 4 weapons, but let me try to start by explaining what a shell is and what the deal is with all of this stuff. So the thing about this game is that you play this white looking creature. I already talked about this when the beta came out, and this white creature can actually possess these things that are out in the world, which are called shells. There's 4 distinct shells, which allow you for kind of like 4 different play styles, if you will. You have one shell that's like really tanky and beefy. You have another one who's got a lot of stamina, so he's kind of like your rogue type shell. You have another shell that's kind of like your average dude. It focuses a lot on the harden mechanic of the game, which I'll talk about in just a second. And then you have another shell which appears to focus more on the resolve system of the game. So let's talk about the harden mechanic to begin. Harden is basically like a block that you have in this game, except that there are no shields. So the way that things work is you can basically harden your character's body to the point it becomes like stone, and that can block anything that the game throws at you, save for a couple of grabs that certain enemies have that kind of break you out of your shell, and also some enemies have like a kick that can break you out of your shell as well. Now, the whole point of that mechanic is that you start an attack and then you harden, and you kind of block the incoming attack, and then you counter with the attack that you had already began, because you can basically cancel any animation that you are doing so long as your harden is available, because it does have a cooldown and certain shells can take better advantage of that cooldown. But basically you have to really utilize this mechanic to its fullest potential to engage in combat in this game. Now, you can also play more with the rogue type shell if you want to, and that is going to give you a more dodge type playstyle, where instead of hardening as much, you can rely more on your dodge. But ultimately, the harden mechanic is going to be like your bread and butter throughout the game, and it is going to be something that you will want to master. And I told you guys during the beta, I felt that mechanic was kind of weird and a little bit unresponsive. I felt like they greatly improved that in the final game. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe I just kind of became better at using it. I don't know. But either way, in the final version of the game, the harden mechanic was much improved from what I had experienced in the beta itself. And it was really good to see, because it actually was, it was feeling good to actually use the harden mechanic to counterattack enemies and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool. Now, the other thing that I talked about was resolve. Now, the way resolve works is essentially the more attacks you're able to land on an enemy without getting interrupted and stuff like that, you start gaining resolve. And resolve, you can have like several resolve ticks above your health. So like if you have a certain shell, you might have up to 5 resolve things. If you have another shell, you might only have up to 2. So like the rogue shell only has 2 resolve things because he mostly relies on dodging. So therefore he can't do as many counterattacks. The other shell that revolves more around the resolve stuff, it's going to have like 5 ticks, and it allows you to do a lot of special attacks with your different weapons. So the resolve system is used for both the special attacks of your weapons as well as empowered ripostes. So the way the game works is you're going to have this item that you can use that allows you to parry. So you can block, you can also parry by using this different item. And if you're able to successfully parry an enemy, you can do an empowered riposte. And the empowered riposte can either steal health from your enemies, or it can like plant a bomb in your enemies, depending on the thing that you do. And there's another one that like sends out a copied version of your shellless creature thing against the enemies. I don't know exactly what that does because I didn't do a whole lot of parrying throughout the game. I mostly focused on doing hardened stuff because that was kind of like better for the playstyle that I was doing. Because in my first playthrough, I played with the tankiest shell that I could find. It had like the most HP of all the shells, and you know, the hardening just was better than going after the parries. Not to mention that if you are playing weaker shells as well, parrying is something that is going to be heavily punished if you fail your parry. So you have to get the timing exactly right with the parries, and it's not super simple. So yeah, that's another reason why I was like, whatever, parry schmarry, just gonna focus on, you know, dealing damage and using the special attacks of my weapon, so on and so forth. So that's kind of like the basics of it. And like I said, there's 4 total weapons and 4 total shells because, you know, it is a smaller studio, so they decided to focus on doing these really well as opposed to having like 10 different options of each and then, you know, not really doing right by all of them. And like I said, as a first effort, I think that they did a pretty good job. The game is pretty fun. Like I said, I was expecting it to be longer. It took me about 10 hours to finish. And usually it tends to take me a lot longer than most people to finish these games because I like to explore every nook and cranny and stuff like that. And I'm not sure that I did that because in one of the levels in particular, I was just getting a little bit bored because it's just like this barren black wasteland. And I was just like running all over the map trying to find every nook and cranny. I was like, dude, this map just doesn't end. And every corner that I go to, there's nothing there. So at one point I was like, I mean, what's the point of me trying to figure out this whole map? Most of the stuff that I've been through, there's nothing there. But that was just like one map out of there's like 4 maps. There's this hub area, which is like a green foresty looking biome. Then there's a fire area, there is a ice area, and there's that black area that I was talking about. It's just like full of obsidian rock and whatnot. And the whole point of this is you go to each of these areas and you fight a boss, and then you bring back something from that boss to a location in the hub area. And then when you get all 3 things back, you fight the final boss, and then you pretty much finish the game and you go into New Game Plus, which, like I said, does feel a little bit short, which you can always go to New Game Plus and you can try out, let me do a different shell and do a different weapon and all of that stuff. But I was still hoping to get a bit more mileage out of just the base game itself, which I felt could have potentially been done by having at least one more level at the end when you get like the final thing that you go to get from these levels. I felt like that could have been good. But yeah, overall, like I said, I enjoyed it, but I think they need to put another round of polish into the game. Now, I played the PC version, and I don't have the best of rigs, right? I'm running on a 2060, RTX 2060. So it's like the budget GPU because GPUs are still like mega expensive from people using them to mine Bitcoins and whatnot. At least they were a couple of months back. I don't know what the situation is now, but basically my GPU is not the best. I understand that, but even still, I've had like a couple of difficulties getting it to run at a decent frame rate, at a good resolution and stuff like that. But, you know, I was able to muddle on through. I did have a couple of crashes here and there. And also I've had some weird things happen. Like I had this one situation where I was attacking an enemy and I was trying to harden my shell, and the harden got interrupted somehow, and then harden just kind of like broke. I basically had to exit the game to be able to use the harden mechanic again. I had another situation where I opened up a chest, which supposedly had a really important item in there. But because the enemies were running at me and attacking me, they interrupted the animation of me opening the chest. So the chest was opened, but the animation didn't play all the way. So I didn't get the loot from the chest, and I wasn't able to like get that loot like ever. It was just gone forever, which was very frustrating because I believe that one of the things that was there was actually an upgrade to my weapon of choice. So I basically played through the whole game without one of the upgrades on my weapon, which is fine. Like I still did fine, but it was a little bit frustrating. Like, oh, what do you mean? You know, Why can't I get this piece of loot? Like, and the game automatically saves your stuff, right? It's pretty much like Soul. So whatever action you take automatically gets saved. So there wasn't even like a chance, oh, let's go back, let's reload. No, it's like it's gone. That thing is gone. So there's a couple of bugs like that throughout the game, which, like I said, smaller studio, it is understandable, but I kind of feel like even if they delayed the game a little bit more to really put some more polish on some of these things, I feel like they could have gotten a much better result and maybe even a much better reception of the game. Because another thing that happened to me personally is you can interrupt your attacks with the harden mechanic, right? So I would start charging my heaviest attack, and then I would just like harden. And in some cases, you're able to follow up with your combos, but in other cases, you're not. And it just seems like it's very inconsistent whether or not I'm able to continue the combo, because each weapon has like 3 combos. Your 3 combos in heavy and 3 combos in light. And a lot of the times I'd be doing my heavy combo, harden, and then it would just like reset the combo. And you're like, well, why don't you just keep doing the combo after you do the harden thing? Because the shell that I was playing had like close to no stamina. Why would you play a shell with no stamina? You're an idiot. I like the look of that shell. He had like a shield in his arm. He looked cool. What do you want from me? But basically, because of that, there were several situations where I was forced to not do the full combo because it would break. And so instead of that, I would just do the first attack twice, which is a bit of a problem because the later attacks in the combo naturally deal more damage. So yeah, there's just like glitches here and there that you could tell that like, dude, if there was a little bit more polish here, a little bit more polish there, this game would have done so much better. But at the end of the day, it's still a fun game. If you're someone who likes Souls-likes, the unique mechanic of this game of like the whole shell thing, which, oh yeah, something I forgot to say, whenever you die, whenever you get kicked out of your shell, you essentially have a second chance. So you get kicked out of your shell into your little white body thing, and then you can run back to your shell and go back inside, and you get full health back, full stamina back, and you can continue to fight. But you can only do this once, because if you die again after that, then you'll eventually die permanently and you'll have to like restart and stuff like that. You can upgrade these shells. You get passive benefits, and you also get like this special attack, this plunging attack that's like a superhero landing, like a punching the ground thing, which is really cool. Does a ton of damage, pretty much exploded every single enemy I've used that thing on. That was pretty cool. So, there's upgrades for these shells. There's upgrades for your weapons, which give you special attacks and also increase the damage that the weapon itself deals. The usual stuff that you kind of expect of a Souls-like game. But yeah, at the end of the day, my recommendation when it comes to this game is like, hold off a little bit. Let them come up with a couple of patches to potentially fix some of the things that I was talking about, make the experience a little bit more stable. And then after those, then yeah, I think it might be worth it. If you're into Souls-likes and stuff like that, then sure, I think you'll have some good times with Mortal Shell. But yeah, like I said, ultimately, I just wish they had taken a little bit more time to polish out some of the things that kind of like tainted my experience a little bit. I still had a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. I still had a lot of fun, but I think it could have been a lot better experience had they taken a bit more time with it. But anyways, those are my thoughts on Mortal Shell. In terms of like visuals, you guys can see the stuff going on in here, and you also have like the full. You essentially have the full game in my channel. It's like the 3 live streams is the full game, so you can watch the different environments and the biomes to see if that's something that you'd be into. Like in terms of visuals, I think the game is good. In terms of animations, I think the game is also decent, even though there's something weird about the bear traps. Like my character seemed like it would animate at 15 FPS whenever I would step on a bear trap. All of the other animations were normal, but whenever I stepped on a bear trap, the animation was like at a lower frame rate for a strange reason. I don't know why. Again, this might be because of my limited rig with the RTX 2060. Maybe you just need a better GPU or something to run this game, because the visuals do look pretty decent. But yeah, in terms of sounds, it's all right. For the most part, the soundtrack is, it's nothing special. You get like this boom, 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 boom. That was pretty much the whole soundtrack. I barely heard any music at all. It's mostly ambient sounds and stuff like that. And yeah, in terms of controls, it's controlled fine, with the exception of whenever the combos did not go off. And another frustrating thing was like the final boss was kind of weird. I don't know. If you watch the final live stream, you'll understand what I'm saying. And there was another boss that kind of bothered me a little bit, but mostly, it was okay. Again, if they add a little bit more polish, maybe come up with a couple of a bit more content, I think it would have been a lot better. But yeah, that's gonna be it. I'll see you guys in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you did not enjoy this video, hit the dislike button. Thank you all very much for watching. See you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe, peace out.